It's just a hard balance, man.
But I don't want to hold myself back and not do what I want to do because someone else can't go with me or someone else isn't happy with that. So I don't know. Some people say there's a balance. I really don't think so. I really think you have to go for what you want if you really, really want to be successful.
Oh, definitely. You definitely can, but you get what comes with that.
You do, but you have to understand that. Like I'm fully aware and I'm okay with the fact that when my son gets to like 19 or 20 years old, he will look at me and say, you know what? F you were never there. You were never, ever there. Like mom raised me. You were never around. So when I'm there, I try to be there as much as I can, but I'm not there that often. But I'm okay with that. Like I knew that before we had the baby. I knew I was going to be around. And me and my wife had that discussion. I'm like, listen, if we're going to have a kid, you're going to raise this kid on your own. I'm not going to be around. And she goes, I'm okay with that. Okay, cool. As long as you're okay with it. And in typical woman fashion, she's changed her mind a few times. She's not okay with that all the time. But I knew I wasn't going to be around.
Yeah.
And I knew that I wasn't going to be, the father that comes home every single day after work, picks his kid up from school and goes like parent-teacher conferences. I'm at his basketball game. My oldest is in basketball right now. So Romeo's basketball, a game like almost every weekend. Yesterday, the day before he called me up, he's got a cell phone now,
Yeah.
He calls me up. He's like, hey, listen, are you going to come to any of my games this year? I'll try. If I can make one, if I'm home, for sure. But if I'm working, I'm working. And work comes first because I know. And I know it sucks. Like, I know it hurts him. But that's kind of the way it is. Like, I wouldn't be who I am if I went to all his games. I went to all his birthday parties. I went to, his parent-teacher conference. And I was there for all my wife's stuff that she wants to do. I wouldn't be sitting here with you. I'd be a salesman back in Chicago, which is cool, but that's not what I want to be.
Yeah. Have you always felt like this?
I've always thought that I could do more. Like there was something else for me to do. So I never really went to college. Went for like a year and a half. Kind of dropped out of college. Didn't really see anything there for me. Started bartending, serving tables. Got into car sales. Really liked car sales, but knew that I didn't want to be like a 65 or 70-year-old car salesman. I mean, there's really no like future in that. You just kind of have to keep hustling and probably saving money.
Yeah.
And no one really retires from car sales. Most people just die. That's kind of how it is. Like, oh, why isn't he selling cars anymore? He's dead. That's it, man. No, talk to anybody, and I'm telling you, that's what happens. And I didn't want to be that person.
Shit.
So I knew there was something else there.
But I mean, the disconnect from like having a traditional family base, has that always been something that wasn't as important to you as your career was? Or did something happen? I
think something happened. I don't know what happened, but something happened. Because I always wanted the relationship that my parents had. Mm-hmm. They sat on the couch together and held hands. They were married for 50 years. Always held hands. Always, always in love, always happy. And I always wanted that relationship. Yeah. And people used to ask my dad all the time, hey, how are you guys so happy? Like, what's the secret in you guys being happy? And my dad would say the same thing all the time. He goes, I work midnights. He worked at the airlines. He worked midnight shift. He goes, so we'd always miss my wife. They'd always miss each other. Like my mom would work during the day. My dad would come home. They'd hang out for a little bit. My dad would go to work. Mm-hmm. He'd come home. They'd hang out for a little bit. She'd go to work. So they didn't spend any time together. He goes, that was the secret. And so I always thought to myself, I'm like, I'm never going to do that. I am never, ever going to marry someone and never see them like that. I want to be with my wife every day, every minute, every second. And then as life, as you know, you grow up like your parents, whether you want to or not. Yeah. I'm in the same position my dad was in.
Times 10.
Right? Totally. My wife once complained. I was selling cars. I get home at like 10:30, 11 o'clock, right? Dealership closes at 9. You have a late deal, whatever it is. You stay late. It's no big deal. She's like, one night, why are you home so late? I was like 10:30. I had a deal, but it didn't work. Yeah. What do you mean it didn't work? Well, financing didn't go through. Okay, so you worked till 10:30. You took time away from me and you, and now you're not. You didn't even get a deal. You didn't even make any money. She goes, you know what? Maybe you need to find a different job. One that you can come home at like 5 or 6 like everyone else, and we can spend time together like a normal family.
And this is Nadia.
This is Nadia.
Okay.
Yeah. And this was before I started traveling for YouTube and everything.
Okay.
So now I don't come home for a week or two. You know, like she'd be real happy if I started selling cars again, as far as me coming home. But otherwise, I'm sure her and the kids are proud of what I do and they like it. But it just sucks. They wish I could be home more.
Yeah.
So